14h11 sur ALL4PACK TV, bienvenue.
So welcome to all of you in the audience for this roundtable discussion on changes in the supply chain, but also all of the different players in handling. So what new supply chain for 2020? This line of business has become strategic in companies. Customers want to buy equipment goods to have shortest possible return on their investment, which is not easy to do. And industrialists have production goods and capital goods. And there's a very innovative offer now to meet the fast changes in consumption. Now, to discuss the topic, we have a panel here with Jos Marinus, the chairman of the European Logistics Association, with 30 companies represented. You will speak French, but can also speak English, and you'll be translated. Jean-Michel Guarneri, you're the president of Aslog, the French Association of Supply Chain Businessmen. Laurent Durenfors, general delegate of Cisma, in the steel industry and handling, member of the mechanical and steel industry. And the chairman of BA Systems, chairman in automatic guided vehicles and robotics. Christophe Lautrey, president of FEM, the European Federation of Handling. You're also Linda, the chairman of Linda, the Fenwick, the famous Fenwick. And next to you, last but not least, Olivier Janin, Secretary General of the FEM. A fantastic panel of speakers to cover all of the aspects of the issue. Now, let's start with Jean-Michel Guarneri, chairman of Aslog. In your prospection for your members, you joined up arms with your German counterpart, BVL, to define the necessary basics of the supply chain. So 30 directors of supply chain participated in your survey. 5 different themes or issues came out of this. Now tell us more about it. The idea was to think about the profession, not by looking at the past, but just thinking about what needed to be done today to have an excellent supply chain, and to think about the future, the real future. Having an excellent supply chain is good for now in the next 5 years, but we wanted to be more prospective and to understand what were the mega trends of the future and what we needed to work on. So 5 main trends came out of this. And the first one, and we'll come back to this, is the fact that the modes of consumption have changed, and now we are looking into the era of multi-channel for logistics and for supply chain. No, has nothing to do with Homo erectus. Omni-channel, multi-channel. And the second thing that came out of our analysis, is the fact that we incorporated digital technologies in trade and necessarily in the supply chain. So forecasting, but also on steering the different robotic systems with the 4.0 industry. The third trend that came out of our analysis was a trend that was linked to the focus on the human aspect of things. Because things are changing now, companies need to change the skills they're looking for in their staff members, and we're starting to understand what the new skills are that we need to find in our new staff, and we're incorporating new skills, but also new types of profiles in our business. The fourth issue or topic is corporate social responsibility. We have to look at very clean supply chains. And we want to make sure that the staff members are working in the safest and most optimal conditions. And last but not least, training that Even Renault will tell you more about it. It's the cobotics. This is a neologism, and I'm going to explain later on when we talk about it. Last trend, the fifth, which is clearly the most important one, in our opinion, is the nimbleness and resilience of our supply chain. Since we don't know what we're heading for in the next 3 to 5 years. Everything we're building now for the next 5 years will have to be adaptable, and the things are changing fast in the world. Well, all of this in 30 minutes. It's going to be difficult. Now, over to Renaud Burenfos. You are a specialist of handling. That's intra-logistics. So we're talking about the evolution of modes of consumption. This is going to be our starting point. We always need to have a starting point, which is the final customer of a company. Now, is the fact that your business is thriving gives you a good vision of the future for successful services to be provided in the future? Well, our sector is buoyant, our business is buoyant. I mean, it's not that we have a lot of visibility, but our sector is doing well. It's relatively dynamic. And all of the companies that are our customers need to improve their competitiveness, their modularity, and all of that. So this allows our members, the members of our association, to develop new products. Now, what are the sectors of the future, according to you? Well, one is e-commerce, quite obviously. I don't know whether it's a sector of the future, but it's certainly one that is very active and very dynamic now. Well, there are the new members of intralogistics, and to react to what Jean-Michel just said, the multi-channel aspect of our business now forces us to find new types of capital goods and equipment goods to set up new logistics and new modes of transportation. In the past, you had small shops or corner shops or convenience stores, and then you have large stores, and now you have large groups that have stores in downtown areas. So that's the multi-channel mode of distribution, and industrialists need to have the tools to cater to that. Jose Marinos, you have a European point of view, and that's why you are part of the panel. Now, are things similar in all countries in Europe? I would like to apologize before I answer your question to say that I'm Belgian, and unfortunately for you and I, even if we're neighbors, I am Flemish speaking, and so we're actually the world champions of a country that survived without a government. So anyway, our apologies to you, because the next elections seem to be complicated. But anyway, back to our topic now. The multi-channel distribution, the nimbleness, the resilience, the human aspect, the robotics, and the corporate societal responsibility, all of these are European topics. Let me say that e-commerce is, for the time being, the market share of e-commerce is only 8% in Europe. But this means the number of people who have already made a purchase through e-commerce is 50% of the population. So there seems to be an exponential growth of e-commerce. Exponential, you're saying? So it's not linear, it's exponential. My forecast is that distribution in the future will be completely different from distribution today, and this all over Europe. As you say, we need to adapt. We will have to adapt. Today, you have stores that are still stores but still provide e-commerce. They do everything all together. But in the future, things will be different, because when you think about it, and you think about logistics, the logistics behind all of that, how are things done today? Products are sent, there are inflows to stores in cities with trucks or with drivers on bicycles, whatever. There's an inflow of stocks of products that are sent to stores, and consumers buy the products from the stores and then leave with it. So there are inflows and outflows. So either people do that, or they order online and they pick and collect it whenever they want. So why not have some kind of warehouse in cities, and have cities where you have something of every color, of every size, just one of them, where people will be able to try, feel, test, and they can pay and buy it, but get the product when it's sent to them. They are developed afterwards. They can go in the store to see the product, and then you have to deal with the problem of returns. You have to have very complicated machines to do that. No, not necessarily. But of course, consumers have changed and their consumption patterns have changed, so we need to cater to the needs and the new needs. Now we have robots that allow us to do specific, to prepare specific pallets without not mentioning any specific names. I'm talking about sodas, brand names we know, and they came in given packs. But now you can have specific pallets with 2 cans of this, 2 cans of that, a few bottles of water, and all of that. So all of this in one single pallet. So you need to have the tools that allow the picking. And the picking is not done manually, so it's something new. Jean-Luc Thomé, your clients are not the final customers, because your customers are the logistics managers, the guys in charge of the supply chain. How do these changes impact you? You are just upstream of what we just described. Well, I can answer your question in 2 ways. First of all, for the members of Cisma, our association, there are new products being developed that are going to give this additional flexibility. With good research and development and a few innovations, this helps all of the members of the association to develop new products that are much more flexible. As for the impact on Kibia's system, it's going to have an impact on people like System U or, for example, the platforms of distribution of Leclerc stores. Say they're not customers of yours, but we can think of them as an example because they can be prospects, they can be potential customers. So they have distribution platforms for their products to go to the little stores in an urban location, for example. What we're going to try and do is to bring the time of handling down, bring the time of picking down, and to reduce the number of errors, which is very taxing in the logistics. And when they prepare a truck or a pallet, they realize that there's a mistake and the wrong product is on a pallet is meant for the end customer, so they're late deliveries. And these late deliveries are no longer acceptable because customers want things right away. Is there a trend to automate tasks that are low value-added tasks? Yes, the answer is yes, absolutely. We'll come back to it with Linda, but the answer is yes. Now, we paint a picture of our consumers, and what about digitization? That's fundamental, isn't it? Not for the consumer, because we're all fully digitized and connected everywhere we go, but it's more complicated for you. Digitization is everywhere. First of all, the conveyor belts, which are now becoming smart, and the revision and the control and maintenance of your customer. Jean-Michel Garneri, what about robots that are called chatbots? Can you tell us more about them? Well, a chatbot is something else. The chatbot is a robot that will answer the customer's question. It's a smart robot. Okay, I was jumping at the gun. We'll talk about the chatbot later. Talking about digitization for the consumers, to answer your question, I would say we have a hell of a lot of digital information, and the fact that a customer clicks on a website, looks at a given page, whether he buys the final product or not, it gives us a lot of information on what the trends are, the trends for consumption, so we can organize stocks accordingly. Not according to previous purchases, but to forecast future purchases. So we are integrating big data into our logistics in-house. And we are going to be able to organize ourselves within the supply chain to meet our consumers' demands. as for the tools, we talked about nimbleness, agility, and there are many tools. I used to be in handling 15 years ago, I can tell you that when something was set up and installed, you better not make a mistake, because if it was wrong and the flows had changed, it was very difficult to amend it. Hang on now, we're talking about digitization here, aren't we? Yes, well, today with digitization, in the use of digital technologies, the use of digital technologies allows us to, how could I put it, to develop mechanical tools that can meet demands in real time. Hang on, because I don't understand what you are saying. There are lots of people here who don't know the details, the technical details of the subject matter here. Let's say I order something on the internet, and then I get an answer saying your product has been sent off. Say you order a product on the internet. In the next second, there's a picking order that is sent to the logistical center, and they are going to use the machines, the very agile or nimble, scalable machines, to do the picking. And after that, a few minutes later, the information is going to be sent to the customer saying your order is being prepared and is being shipped. It's the information system that is above the machines and that steers the picking system, the digital picking system, that will send the information back to the customer. So then what you're saying is the machines have chip cards that will give the information in real time. Yes, it's either this or that, or they have a system that sends the information back. But you understand, of course, that the digital technology is very valuable because it gives solutions in real time and information in real time. Christophe Lautret, you're the chairman of the FEM and CEO of Linde Material Handling in the Fenwick. Well, not only. Okay, I'm mentioning them because I know them. I mean, the Fenwick is the Coca-Cola of handling, isn't it? You need to go faster to prepare the orders, to do the picking for the orders that we mentioned right now. And some tasks need to be automated. Yes, it's always faster. You always need to have more information and provide more information. There are three areas in which digital technology is very important. First of all, the assistance, personal assistance. Before we talk about automation, you have many that are there just to do their forklift, elevator drivers or truckers, and you want to make sure that they are safe, that they don't have to handle or pick or carry loads that are too heavy. So there's all sorts of techniques that are meant to assist drivers and handlers. Before going faster, you want to be safer. And that's one of the main purposes of digitization. The second thing, you mentioned it's the automation of things. More and more customers want systems that are more and more automatic. And the third element is the exchange of information to use the different trucks, the different carts, the different elevators, and they have to be able to exchange information on the safety of the machine. So this means digital technology applied to the machines. There are three aspects. So assistance for handlers, then automation, robotization, and thirdly, the exchange of information between machines and the environment. Olivier Janin, now let me ask you the following. You're the Secretary General of FEM. Can you give us an idea of what the general trends are in Europe in the field of digitalization? I mean, of course, this has an impact on everybody, but you're there to assist your members. Digitization has an impact on the whole field of mechanical industry. And it's a topic, of course, that is of interest to all of us and to all of us all over Europe, not only in France. At the FEM, the European Federation, we look at what is done here, there, and elsewhere. We wish to support companies in this respect because we know it's an element of competitiveness, and we want to support businesses in Europe compared to other businesses all over the world. And what we need to do is to try and remove hurdles and to try and provide them support to enhance their competitiveness on the European market, so that they remain leaders in the market or can penetrate the international market. We have developed something to try and set up a unique digital market by looking into issues like cybersecurity, the ownership of data, access to data. Of course, big data is of course a big buzzword, and there are all sorts of problems that are linked to the use of big data, because there are going to be things like, if you take, for example, a forklift elevator manufacturer, he's going to see how his machines behave when used by his customers. So he's going to have direct information. Now, who owns those elements of information? Who has the ownership over the data? That's a question. But this will allow machine manufacturers to develop new machines and new services. So this allows the system to have more information that is going to be sent to the end customer. And also, this is going to help industrialists steer their R&D departments in the right direction. Now, what about all of this data, and what do the data say is that everything is going faster? So what about nimbleness, agility, and resilience? Renault, you were the one, Renault Le Vin First, you're the one who mentioned this first. So we're not necessarily forced to follow a given order. So nimbleness, agility is the swiftness with which industrialists meet their customers' needs. So you said in the past a cycle was 15 years long, whereas now it's a system is changed every 3 years, and soon it's going to be 6 months. So resilience is essential, and where things are changing fast, the world is changing fast, people are changing fast, the technologies are changing fast, the techniques too. So this idea of resilience is essential. Well, what's it all about? You have to be able to adapt to a changing configuration. Well, how does that apply to machines? Well, Christophe gave us a good example. Forklift elevators. Now there's sometimes now they can be fully automated now. So there's a chip card that you mean they've become more and more intelligent, because now we don't have industrial robots. No, they're not fully automated. No. No, I won't say this because Jean-Luc is not going to be happy, but yes, there are different systems and different options, different possibilities. We might not be able yet to replace the whole fleet by fully automated machines, but we have a few by making some of the tasks automated. You have domotics, you have robotics, you have all sorts of types of automation and that assist humans in their work. Christophe mentioned the fact that handlers no longer carry heavy loads. That has changed. Now, Christophe Lautré today, say you have a fleet of machines. Can you automate them, the forklift drafts? Can you automate them to make them fully automatic at not too high a cost? Yes, well, that's what has made things different today. In the past, large groups required mega investments, whereas today you can start automating them individually in a relatively easy and low-cost manner. Things are changing fast, and now we want customers who want to have a return on investment that is ROI shorter than 2 years. Where that was impossible in the past. You couldn't think of having a return under 2 years' time, whereas now it is possible. That's quite extraordinary indeed. What about you, Jean-Luc Thomé? You sell AGVs that are being shown on your booth in hall number 6, automatic guided vehicles. Are they fully reliable? Yeah, they are, absolutely. I mean, what are they meant for? We're talking about agility and resilience and changing systems. What are these AGVs meant for? Talking about the life cycle of systems, the service life of the IT. I mean, on one cycle, they're going to be reconfigured once, so it's easier to reconfigure them because you can program them. You can reprogram them if necessary. Yes, you can, absolutely. What customers want is, as you mentioned, the fact that there are no drivers on forklift trucks. That's one thing if they're automated, but we can guarantee that there are very nimble and fluid and perform in a seamless way, and that this guarantees access time to the production machines, faster access time to evacuation and shipping of finished products. So everything is optimized. The return on investment as a result of it is based on the enhanced performance of a production unit rather than in the reduction of number of staff members required. You gave us the example of a customer beforehand. Are we talking about mega international players? Mostly, we're talking mostly about large groups like L'Oréal, like Nestlé, and they have started rolling out this kind of solutions on most of their sites, but industrial sites, but also SMEs. They wish to test one or two machines on one of their processes that guarantee levels of quality, rates of occupancy of their machines, and final results that are good. But we cater mostly to large groups. Talking about the human factor now, we've been talking about technology and the changes in the systems. What about the human aspect and the development of new skills and how the staff change? How are you going to... Renaud Buron-Fosse, and after that, Jean-Michel Garnieri. How to involve humans, workers, the staff, that is. Well, do AGVs do away with humans? Well, no, the idea is to assist humans, to assist staff members to do things with greater added value, to develop the ergonomy of a workstation, for example. I mean, we don't do away with the human element, but we reinforce the autonomy of staff members and make them do more qualified, more value-added tasks. AGVs need to be maintained, need to be serviced, need to be, it's not necessarily the same thing, but as Christophe said, if you automate the basic vehicle, the driver is still needed. But he is more focused on the work he's doing and probably less daydreaming and safer. The idea is to reduce the risk of accident because this has a heavy cost for the human involved, but also for the company. Jean-Michel Garnieri, what are the new profiles of staff members? This is something we've been working on in our association, and we see that the world of logistics and the world of supply chains has changed. There's a lot of automation, robotization. We talked about big data. We talked about customers wanting new things. And many new businesses are needed in the field of logistics and in the supply chain. So there are new skills that are needed. What are you talking about specifically? Well, we need to incorporate many more engineers, mechanical engineers. And the logistics center has become a production unit per se. And because it has become a production unit, we need to have all of the skills that are required in any other production unit in order to be able to ensure production, to manage production, to manage the different pieces of equipment. And we are in touch with most engineering schools to try and explain to the students that logistics is not only, or logistics warehouse is not only a location where products are handled. No, it's much more than that. Well, transporting pallets is something with low added value, but there's much more to it than meets the eye, because there's preventive maintenance. We need, quite clearly, engineers with new profiles, new skills, but let's think about those who've been in place for the past 15 years. You have to get them interested in preventive maintenance, planification of operations. And very clearly, what appears today is that the human challenges that companies have today is to move skills around and to change the skills and move them upward. And say an order picker of the past, who's been doing that for many years, can hope to be doing 2 or 3 new different things all through his career. So we need to incorporate new skills in the headcount so that things move forward. Jos Marinos, what can be said for employment in the field of logistics and the supply chain in Europe? Are skills missing? Yes, I fully agree with what my neighbor just said, is that we need new skills, not only drivers, but many other profiles. In addition to that, I agree with you and think that when I was a kid, all of those who couldn't sort of handle the pace of the production line were sent to the warehouse, whereas this is over. There's something over. The supply chain and the logistics center is real, the central office, and that's where value is created for the company. So the profiles required are different now. We need engineers, we need managers, because you need managers of the internal logistics. You need to have somebody managing the whole thing with the customers, with the producers, with the production line. So you need highly technical profiles. I don't want to give anybody the feeling that we are capitalists manipulating the system and automating everything, but it seems like automation is a net job creator. Yes, we can say that in our company. I mean, it's more than 10% that the jobs we've created. In economies that are only growing by 1 or 2%, we're pretty buoyant. We're a dynamic sector, and in terms of employment, there's a figure that is always mentioned. I know that this can irritate some, but there are 160,000 industrial robots in service in Germany and 40,000 in France. And I don't want to remind you of the respective rates of unemployment in Germany and in France, but one has 10% unemployment, that is France, and the other one 5%. So it's reversely correlated. So we're not destroying employment with automation. No, we're just changing employment and making them less painful. We're creating a new economy around this automation, the automation of machines, and we are creating new jobs. We need people to ensure the maintenance and of the AGVs, and there are many software engineers that are required. In the past, with software engineers who were sent to Google, but you can very well be a software expert and work in logistics and in the supply chain. Young people, young graduates are all obsessed with the working for an American major, but you can very well be an excellent software engineer and join a supply chain. It's interesting to see it in our businesses. We create AGVs, and that we create drones, and we also do all sorts of things that are fun too. So it might be interesting for young people today. People don't all necessarily want to work for Google or for Apple. Well, that's a piece of good news. We have many potential jobs in France in this sector. Allow me to add 2 things. The first thing is we're talking about corporate social responsibility. We make the industry more competitive. We have to understand this as a way of making our business more competitive. And a certain number of us are convinced of the fact that if there is no industry, there will be no services. So we need to reboost our industry. And to answer your second question, by way of an example, 1/3 of our staff in our company is our IT specialist. So 1/3 are IT specialists. Last thing. Operators and CSR. CSR might seem difficult to value, but Jean-Michel Garnier, what about the ergonomy of workstations? That has become essential. Everybody taking a close look at what you're doing. We have little time left to try and be fast. Well, if we could give a definition or a charter of CSR and put it in the annual reports, well, if you go wrong, everybody knows it, because with social networks, the news gets around. So what is important today is to make sure that you abide by the rules and the values that you claim are those being environmentally friendly and being respectful. What is the exoskeleton? What's this all about? I'm going to give the microphone to my colleague, Renaud.
Okay, well, can you talk about exoskeleton? It is sci-fi for video games, possibly. No. It's part of the supply chain. It's quite simple. We have a lot of laws on painful work, for example, in France. At all costs, you've got to help the human beings in making his work or her work less painful, which means, avoiding lifting big loads. In France, there's a company called Colas developing an exoskeleton to help people who, have problems to use or operate drilling machines. It's important for handling companies to provide solutions to their customers to reduce the risks of musculoskeletal diseases or problems. And employees in Western Europe are getting older, so the average age is increasing, and new profiles are younger. Now, Christophe Lautré, in handling, you've got to calibrate loads. Oh yes, we're calibrating loads. Ergonomics is part and parcel of our DNA. In forklift trucks, we're attentive to this in intralogistic systems. If a forklift truck, if an AGV must be driven by any type of population, easily using flawless or seamless movement. That's part of the imperatives today. That's the end of our stage on intralogistics. Your answers are exciting and the future is bright. Thank you for participating. Let's meet on this stage in 10 minutes to get back to the basics, in 6 minutes to go back to basics, namely with our focus on the metal industries at 2:55 p.m. sharp. In 10 minutes.